Hello, everyone. I'm Trent Luce. Welcome to another live across the pond with my giggly pontification partner, Andrew Henderson. Good afternoon, UK.
Good morning, USA. And the farmers are fighting back in the UK today.
Yeah.
How's that sound?
Up with that pretty quick. Yeah, that sounds good.
You came up with that
I was,
quick. I've been practicing that for hours. I've been practicing that for hours.
At least 42 seconds. So as I was typing that up today, I got to thinking how perfect this topic and how you and I really started our in-depth conversation by traveling from farm to farm in the UK, looking at how the food tyrants, I'm going to call them the food tyrants, with no jest,
you can.
The food tyrants are keeping the farmers as mere peasants, providing the essentials to make it work and not paying them properly to do it. And that's because we have allowed the leverage to slip away, and it is time the farmer gain the leverage, not just to benefit the farmer, but to benefit the consumer. And you got a plan on how that's happening.
Well, not me personally, but I'm going to tell you about a plan that is happening that way and how clever it is. And I want to just set the scene here for everybody that listens in the US, because I think that we're going to see lots and lots of examples of this. And I heard yesterday, and Trent and I were saying we've got to sometimes not be political, but I lasted how long there? 30 seconds. So I'm going to tell you, yesterday when your person in charge of food and drink and trade announced that you wouldn't have inflation if it wasn't for chicken, pork and beef because they've gone up so much in price. He forgot to mention your fuel's doubled as well. But the reason you got 15% inflation and growing is because of the increase in price of your chicken, beef and pork. Now, the question needs to be, does that mean that all the farmers are receiving more, 15% more for their chicken, beef and pork? Is that true? Now, in the UK, that means not at all, because at the moment, we're seeing increases in prices of all three of those commodities, as well as dairy. And but the dairy farmer, for absolute certainty, isn't getting these increases coming through. Mm-hmm. So I want to just address it, because behind me, actually, I think I can just show you this, actually.
Oh, you got somebody riding with you today.
Yeah, I got somebody riding with me today. But can you see? Oh, behind me is a Lidl supermarket. I'll try and do it that way. And Lidl is
there's a little supermarket.
A Lidl, Lidl. Now, Lidl is a German supermarket who are pretending that they love British farmers. So there's British flags outside and all sorts of regalia. And it's, as I've told you before, in fact, the majority still in the UK are fairly sheep. And they start believing things that aren't true. And Lidl are trying to pretend that they promote and they look after the British dairy farmer. Okay. So what Lidl have done is they've gone to one of the main processors, knowing that milk is going to massively increase in price, or cheese or dairy. And they have done a deal with our farmers where the farmers had no choice. They had, through one of the processors, to pay 29 pence per litre of milk. That's for just over 2 pints of milk to the farmer for the next 3 years. And they did this deal before all these price increases. So basically, we've got a very large proportion of dairy farmers who supply Lidl at a price which is now way below the cost of production. And the farmers are nailed into this for 3 years. And they were actually forced to sign some of these contracts. I'm going to say that, and I don't care if I get myself in trouble. That's the truth. Now, because there was nowhere else they could go. Now, here's the thing. There's an Irishman that has approached us, me, and various other people that know dairy farmers in the UK. And he went, and I've got to be careful how I explain this, but he did a very, very clever thing. And sometimes when you see people do clever things, you think, I wonder how that'll materialize. First thing is, he went to the banks and he said, there's a problem. Farmers aren't getting their fair share. And the banks, who are supporting the farmers because they know that the farmers are the ones with the assets, said, tell me more. And what the banks then did, a very big bank in the UK, then supported this guy and took him to one of the biggest importers of raw materials in the world and explained the farmers' situation here in the UK. And in the end, and I'm not going to name this company, but this company have decided to back this farmer's app, which means that what this farmer is able to do is he's able to go all over Europe and the world and match up milk contracts and dairy contracts to farmers that want to directly supply milk to supermarkets and retailers all over the world. And as a result, we've now got an app available, which is going to be launched actually on next Wednesday at the UK Dairy event, where farmers can actually sell their milk farm gate from July next year, and they can sell up to 5 years in advance, Trent, directly with supermarkets through this app. And no processor is involved in the chain. Isn't that incredible? Do you understand how the implications of this? That the farmer is actually doing the deal directly with the supermarket. And you might say, well, hang on, how's that going to happen?
I don't understand. I don't understand how that'll work at all.
Okay, well, I'll tell you how it works. What this major company that imports raw materials has done is they've managed to secure deals through the back door with many processors to process this milk as it arrives for contract, because they're guaranteed the way this milk price is worked out, they are already guaranteed a profitable processing a package from it. So small processors that aren't aligned to the big processors are taking the options on processing this milk because they know they're guaranteed a profit, because the supermarket have offered a price that offers them a good processing margin and offers a good price to the farmer. But the profit is now spread, and the big processors can't control who makes the money. That's how it's going to work. And I'm thinking, is this for real? Is this really going to work? And the reason I'm being a little bit careful how I explain this to you, I know who signed up, Trent, and it is going to work. You know, because it means that all these small processors are going to make money, whereas at the moment they're not making money because they're doing contract manufacture for some of the big processors. This time they're going to get their bit of the action. Does that make any sense to you?
So I understand the theory that you're presenting, but let's come back to why we'll call them the global elites in the system, the food tyrants. That's a better word. The food tyrants have been able to maintain the leverage. Why have they been able to do that? Because
they've controlled.
Because they provide a high volume of consistent product to the supermarket at a lower cost. So what you just described, I understand the theory, and in fact, I worked on one of those, and from 1993 through 1998 in the meat business here, and tried to bring together a vertical system that rewarded everybody equally. I tried to do that. It didn't work because at the end of the day, that costs more money to put it on the supermarket, and the consumer will drive past the one you just described to go save 5 cents at the one down the road that's cheaper and has the same quality of product.
Yeah, well,
so, you're
missing the main ingredient there. Because I believe it or not, we do think alike, because I thought the same. But then you listen to what I'm going back to what your congressman said yesterday about inflation. You know, these prices for pork, beef, and chicken, and I believe it is happening in dairy in the US as well. They can't control them going up. Why can't they control them going up? Because either the logistics are broken, which is to do with the pandemic, and I know what I mean by that is there's a real issue with the driver supply, but also there's a lack of production for demand. And that is the key, because at the moment, just imagine if you're a supermarket like Lidl that I described to you. They've paid on contract, they've paid 29p, but 40% of British dairy farmers are in danger of going out of business. So let's say 5% of them go out of business, because they are going out of business, Trent.
Right.
And that means there's 5% less milk, and the demand isn't going down, it's going up. That's when the big guys lose control, because if people work out how to get it, if those supermarkets, don't matter how cheap they've bought the milk, if they know they're not going to get it because there isn't a supply, they're in the brown doo-doo. And that is why this app will work if we continue to be short, or to keep the market short of dairy. And what's happening, and somebody gave me an example, 40 farms last weekend in my area alone, the milk wasn't collected because drivers were isolating because of this pandemic.
Right.
And that's now, and these cases are rising every day. That milk is gone.
Yeah.
It can't be made into cheese. It can't be made. And what I'm saying to you is, this is happening all over Europe. They reckon that Europe is 400,000 drivers short, period, and we're 35,000 drivers short. Now, what I'm trying to say to you is that now we've got into the point where supermarkets are trying to drive people in, and it isn't about what the price is, it's whether they've actually got the product.
Mm-hmm. I'm
so,
totally with you there.
So what's actually happening now is that these guys are going to launch this, and these farmers are going to say they're going to give 2 fingers for these people that have been raping them for years, and they're going to do it themselves.
We've had the same, even in the dairy business. I've talked to dairymen in the United States who have taken the same approach that you're talking about here. And so they go and they sell to grocery outlets, supermarkets, and expect the consumer to come there to buy their product. And it has never worked, because what happens is these food tyrants that we're trying to gain the leverage on will come in and target individual producers, individual chains.
Okay.
They will flood that area with a product that is enough less for a period of time to draw the consumer away until they break that farmer. The only way, in my mind, this works is the Ray Brown approach. And so we have to explain the Ray Brown approach, because it's what we do in our own pork supply.
He's doing he's doing really well.
Yeah, we go direct to the consumer. If you go through the processor and then through the consumer, there's no way at the end of the day a farmer will maintain leverage on that. There are still too many people, fingers in the pie. The farmer needs to go direct to the consumer. That's the only way. In a regional area, that's the only way that he will maintain the level of a percentage of the consumer's food dollar. He needs to make it work.
Okay, well, let me just say one thing. I'm not saying you're wrong, because you're definitely right about that description. But let's say, I've got to be careful what I say, because I'm involved in non-disclosure agreements at the moment. But let's say that the supermarket, by doing it through us in the way that I've described, actually ends up buying it for less than what they would have bought it through the big, what you call tyrants. Mm-hmm. So that the actual product is less, right? And what happens if the supermarket then signs those farmers up on a 12-month rolling deal, because it is supply that they want. They want the basic foodstuffs in the store, and they've recognized that maybe because of what's happening in this global market now, we are seeing food shortages in the Western world we've never seen before. Why are all these countries rising up? It's happening in Italy, Spain, Greece, France, everywhere, Australia, New Zealand. It's happening all at the same time. And Greg Dowd gave me a really good insight into why I think it's happening. Beijing Biden is allowing all that food to go to China. Is that not correct? You said it yourself. That really did make me think, actually, when that came out the other day. So what I'm saying,
I don't like how you put that into context. Beijing Biden is allowing. We have, and Greg, we had this discussion off air, and the Chinese don't understand this. The United States system has always been about selling to the highest bidder, and China is the highest bidder right now. So it's not like Beijing Biden, not to even give him a pass on any single thing ever in life, but Beijing Biden is not involved in allowing that food to go to China. It's going to the highest bidder in the market right now. My concern, everything that you're bringing up, is actually China intentionally creating a food inflation, which long-term hurts everybody.
Yeah, and they're buying your meat at whatever price you want to buy. You want to sell it to them at, because they know that in doing that, they're keeping everybody else short. It's part of their plan. It's like yesterday, they're taking over Basra Airport. We now find out that they're going to be mining all the lithium, so that and it turns out that Hunter Biden and Beijing Biden and invested in that company. You know, all those things are coming to light now. And what I'm trying to say to you is the bad guys, certainly in our dairy industry, people know what a bad deal Lidl have done for our farmers.
Mhm.
This guy that's come up with this concept. I spoke to him at length yesterday. I actually do believe he's going to succeed, because if I was a supermarket, you know, they talk about, and I'll give you a very good example, because it's a name you hate actually, but I'm going to say it. Walmart in America, right? Walmart in America.
I don't hate them. They are the devil and created all of these problems.
I don't hate them. They are the devil.
Well, they are.
Okay. Well, okay. Well, if they're the devil and you don't hate them, I don't understand. If you don't hate the devil, there's a problem.
Walmart didn't do it. The people who continued to flock to Walmart, creating the environment. That's what I'm trying to get at.
Okay, so hear me out on this. So I know that when they divided up into different sections, and one of them was Sam's Club. You know that yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And what did they do with Sam's Club to drive people in? Did they just stack it high and sell it cheap? Or did they start to think of new ways of getting people into their store to buy cheap food? I get that. But what was the draw? And I believe I'm right in telling you this, because I've been and had a look myself. They started being the world's cheese emporium for Americans. And actually, the cheese that they sold wasn't cheap. It was actually very high added value cheese from all over the world. And so that made those farmers that supplied that, maybe not in the USA, but certainly in the UK and in Europe, a lot of money, because Sam's Club went through these cheese emporiums from Italy, etc. And you'd go to Sam's Club to look at all these different cheeses from the rest of the world. And you know what? It wasn't cheap, Trent. And that, my friend, is a reason why this could work. Because if it brings added value products to the table at the right money, it can work.
Oh, now you're getting closer. And this is actually happening in my back door. And I first became aware of it in California, the PMA. Sam's created a club that people could go access. And the real answer on a regional basis is a produce market association, where you are a member of the local retail chain. And you can go buy stuff that, by the way, may not need to have the same incumbent cost that you have in the retail outlets through supermarkets. That's the answer. That's the answer.
And that's what we're forming at the moment. I'm being very careful, but a load of farmers are getting together to do exactly that.
Okay, I'm fine with that. You were using the term supermarket in a generic way, and I'm thinking of a supermarket is always a chain or a locally owned, but it's still part of a chain. But if you create a membership alliance or membership association that people in a regional area can be a part of, that I see as the path.
Well, that is the path. Regaining control for the farmer. I've always wanted to say that. Regaining control for the farmer in the UK.
For Andrew Henderson, turn loose. Have a great day. See you at the top of the hour with Jenny Schwager.
By the way, just before you go,